both taking all our supplements. So I am back again, really happy. Thank you so much, Clayton Thomas, the founder from the RootBrands. We are back to talk about some important things, but before we launch in, how are you doing over there?
Hey, you know, it's a great time here. Today is the amazing Dr. Christina Rom's birthday. So
cool.
My wife's birthday today. So we had birthday festivities, and it's not rainy today. So we're not going to complain about the weather, and people get healthier and happier every day. We get amazing stories every morning. So it's nothing to complain about, right? And social media is alive.
It's back, it's up, it's down, it's back, it's whatever. Wow,
I got banned on Facebook last night because I posted a picture. Get this, I posted a picture, and this probably lead into some of our conversations.
Yeah.
I had one of the doctors I'm friends with had a question about, hey, has any of you here been prescribed ivermectin? And so I posted a picture because I just got my first 2,000 pills in yesterday. So I posted a picture of a bunch of pills on my bed. Facebook banned me for content that is against community standards. I'm like,
joke.
And it was a comment on someone else's post, and it was a picture of ivermectin, and that is against community standards.
Yeah.
They're not part of my community.
This is what we've all been saying. I mean, that's why everyone who watches my channel knows about the code word situation, because I'm already on a couple of strikes and have lost one YouTube channel. And the annoying thing is, it's so important to get this information out there. So what we're going to be talking about today, I mean, as a biologist and a holistic health therapist working with animals and humans, I get asked all the time in this current madness. It was bad enough before the last year and a half, let alone with what's going on now. You know, what can people actually do? So one of the reasons why I was so happy to have found you guys is because I've tried and tested the products, and they really work. And at the moment, today, we're going to focus on my favorite. I know it's not necessarily the clean slate, because I love products that you can use for animals and humans alike. And we have got a lot of people. Yeah, fantastic. I'm getting through a lot of them with all my animals, but we've got so many people wanting to know, with the current challenges, and I'll be careful with my words, but with the transmission that might be going on, with the toxicity that's around all of us that we can't necessarily avoid, to actually get some real sort of facts about what people can do and how this brilliant product can help them and their animals, because I never leave the animals out of the discussion. So far away, Clayton, and share your brilliance with us.
I think first, it's so important for everyone to understand that what we're dealing with environmentally is not something that is 18 months or 22 months or 24 months, 36 months old. Right. What we're dealing with is a multi-generational process that's put people in this position. So it is a transgenerational issue of toxicity, of all kinds of toxicity, right? Physical, be it heavy metals, environmental toxins, you know, like fluoride, like glyphosate. You can add graphene in there now because it's a popular word. You can throw in mold, fungus, yeast. Right? Because candida is something people have become familiar with over the last decade or so. So you really have to understand first that this is not a short-term issue, right? And this is something that's been going on for thousands of years, that is passed maternally. You know, so our exposure has been multiple generations. But through that same process, the heavy metals, and this is where you have to understand that the transgenerational aspects are not just physical, they're also emotional, because these heavy metals will hold on to negative emotion and trauma. So that's where you have, you know, past trauma that's also passed down, because those heavy metals are holding on to what was in your mom and put them in you. But then also, as you have experiences through life, the negative ones are actually held on to by mercury and lead and aluminum, these neurotoxic heavy metals, as your calcified pineal gland doesn't function anymore because of the fluoride, that you can't let go of the things that plague you, right? And I think it's so prominent in women compared to men, because they're much more empathic, they're much more emotional, and they're much more really involved in society than men are. And they're exponentially greater exposed to different types of toxicity and different types of trauma, right? And social media compounds that. And you just have to understand that we are being programmed to become docile and controllable, to be depressed, to have these things. So these are what's important. And then because we've progressed to a point, it's known that, great, now we can create this real simple illusion to this massive issue that people think is a viral outbreak that is strategically formulated and created through programming and combination of a couple different things, like the HIV and a corona like the beer, that you combine those and you have this amazing little flu bug that won't really kill you if you don't have any problems, but it mutates so effectively that when you combine that with what people are getting stuck with, there are little nano antennas that are programmed very intricately and very intelligently to do some very, very bad stuff, right? When you look at the components, right? Because if you remember, if you had pencils, you would use graphite, and not quite graphite, but it's a little bit different, right? And you know that aluminum is a neurotoxic heavy metal, and you know that if you nanotize aluminum, you're actually going to make it even worse, right? And it's more bioavailable, and it's already the second or third worst in lead and aluminum. I think aluminum's worse than lead, but it's even worse in its function. But when you combine that with some viral fragments, the RNA from viral fragments, and you create these little super replicating nano antennas, combined with the exposure that we have already from heavy metals, from mold, from fungus, which is the crucial part. That's why your lungs get jacked up if you're already immune compromised in these situations. Not because of what you've been exposed to, but because from a viral standpoint, but because of what you've been exposed to from mold and fungus, right? If you look around your areas, the black mold's like crazy right now. There's a couple strains of black mold that have been found in the last few years that have not been seen before. I wonder how that happened. And what happens when you're exposed to black mold? You inhale it. And then when you suppress your immune system, it explodes, right? Because there's nothing to suppress its growth. So these are the things that you have to be aware of. You have to understand that this is not a simple little thing. You're dealing with entities that work on a level of complexity that most people can't comprehend. So in order to combat that, you have to have someone who functions on the same level. That's why I'm really fortunate to have my wife, right? Because she is light. She's what was put here to solve a bunch of this. That prophecy was done 27 years ago, but she's been in their world. She's been in biotech.
Exactly.
The highest echelon of biotech. First 30 people hired at Alexion, #1 biotech company in the world. She was one of the first 30 people hired. The human monoclonal antibodies that you see on TV that were advertised, she was one of the people working on at Bristol Myers Squibb 16 years ago. When they started doing mRNA research on HIV, she was on the research team. She was at Pfizer. She was at Johnson & Johnson, UCB, BMS, Biogen IDAC, Alexion, Pfizer. And then through that journey, when she started to work on what we've created, she went back to Harvard in their nanotechnology and bioscience engineering system to understand what they're doing currently from bioscience engineering and nanotechnology, because that's how they're weaponizing this stuff. She wanted to figure out what they're doing so she could use nature and make it better, not to make it worse. So it's this combination of understanding, one, you have to know all the issues. You want to be able to see it from as many perspectives as possible. But then you also want to make sure you have the right teammates, because we're not in this alone, right? You can't go about this alone. If you become the sheep that starts yelling and letting everybody know that you got out and you think you're awake, you're prey. So this is something that has to be done as a community. And that's why we created Root, right? So we have this amazing community that's focused on addressing these issues, because we knew these issues were coming 5 to 7 years ago. She was anointed to be, positioned for this 27 years ago, but she actually knew this was coming 5 and 7 years ago. That's not a joke.
No, I completely agree. I mean, there's been lots and lots of warning signs, and they've been ramping it up for ages. And, the nature and the human body are incredible, aren't they, in terms of our resilience to take all this that's been thrown at us. But at a certain point, it comes to a point where you've gone over the tipping point of being able to cope.
Exactly. And it's important to understand, the key reference, right? Depending upon your spiritual basis, where the illuminaries were really the beginning of this process, where it was the understanding of illumination, right? That we are light. And you look at that through Christianity, you can look at it through whatever lens you want, that we are light. Well, what happens if you turn on a light will shine through anything. If there's a hole, if you're in a dark room and you turn the light on and you have little holes in the wall or there's cracks, you're going to see light come through. It doesn't matter what is done to us. The light can always shine through. And it's much like being an amazing painting, where if you find a masterpiece that's been sitting, not as much in the United States because we have no history, but if you're in the UK and you end up in someone's attic in a house that's been there since the 1500s, and you're in the attic and you find this amazing masterpiece that you look at it and you can see a signature and it says Picasso. You're like, I know that name. But what you see on the outside is all dirty and it's patinaed and there's stuff all over it. You go, there's a Picasso under here. So do you get a sandblaster and just try to spray it all off really quick? No, because you'll destroy the masterpiece. So what it takes is a process of clean, slowly, layer by layer, taking off that patina, all of the negative history that has the environmental exposure that has covered up this amazing masterpiece. That if you start to wipe that away, you'll eventually, again, see this amazing masterpiece. We are the masterpiece. We just have to clean up the mess. If you're breathing, that masterpiece is still there. The level of patina that you have varies amongst everybody. Some people have a lot more work to do to clean stuff up. Same thing with animals. We might have a little more work to do to clean stuff up, but if you do it, if you start on the process, you'll see changes. And eventually you'll get to see the masterpiece. And you'll start functioning at a level of which you're like, wait a minute, I never knew this was possible. That's the point.
Absolutely. And I think that's such an important point, because I think nowadays so many people, whether it's with themselves or their animals, just don't realize how good they can feel. And, we've seen it with the life expectancy. If you just take domestic animals like dogs and cats, have gone down so dramatically over the last 100 years that people think their dog's doing really well if it gets to 12 years of age. You're like, no, that is just so far below what you should be aiming for. But what I love about this is it's never too late to start, is it? And to start in a safe way, as you said, you don't want to go in there rushing all in and just doing more damage on the way. You've got to be careful how you do it. It's
never too late and it's never too early. And I think the earlier part is one that we're proving right now to be just absolutely freaking exceptional, to where our root babies that have had moms on clean slate, some prior to getting pregnant, during pregnancy, and then moms and babies now are taking clean slate from day one. We have an 8-month-old amazing baby girl, and she's gone through all the steps. I was asking Dr. Tina Bozichnik, who's one of our collaborating physicians. She's actually the #1 doctor in the entire country of Slovenia. She's also, and she's a pediatrician. She's extremely integrative in her practice. I mean, that's why she's the #1 doctor in the entire country.
Yeah.
But I was asking her about this progression because we have an 8-month-old girl that's walking, like on her own, plays around, plays with herself, plays with her toys. At 8 months, she's up and walking. And she's like, what? And Tina, I was asking Tina, and she's like, well, they have to go through these steps, right? Because if you don't, you can have kids that get up and start walking early, but developmentally there's issues that cause that. So I got back in touch with the family of this amazing baby girl, and they're like, no, she's gone through every step and it's been perfect, and she's just quickly going through them. It's like, okay, you go from crawling to standing up to holding to moving to walking, and you go, this is supposed to be done in like a year, and she's 8 months old and she's just absolutely crushing it. She was tracking visually from day one. When she was born, she was looking around, looking at the room, because she'd been on clean slate since she was in the womb.
Yeah, now in terms of doses, because that's really good you brought up the babies, because one of my therapist friends wanted some advice on babies. So for a young baby, a newborn baby, what dose could you give for this clean slate? And
most of our root babies are getting like 1 drop twice a day or 2 drops in the morning.
Yeah,
which is funny because a lot of adults think it's too strong, but the kids are going, oh yeah, this is great. You know, and it's getting through the process, right? When you start with the little ones, they are really, really polluted, but they're going to respond a lot quicker too, right? Because metabolically, their metabolism is working so fast because they're growing, that the more you can give them, the more good stuff you put in them, which is why babies love Restore too. It's freaking outstanding. But they don't need as much. You get like just a little bit, like 1/4 of a teaspoon, and they're amazing. So you have these different benefits. The more goodness you can put in them, the more greatness you're going to get out. That's actually a pretty good line.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk us through, going back to the clean slate then. So one of the questions I've been asked more over the last month than anything else is if people have either got family members that have received this or are living with family members who have. There's a lot of worry about the transmission issues.
As there should be, because it's legit.
Exactly.
We've had it in the office. We had one of our staff that she caved and elected to have that done. And she came in and she had her tail between her legs a little bit, but she was like, oh, we wanted to go see our son and travel. So we had it done. We had the Pfizer one done because it was approved by the FDA. And we're like, no, it wasn't. And get out of my office because you're shedding. She's like, well, I'll just be back in my office away from everybody. I'm like, no, I don't want you here for 2 weeks. Which she wasn't compliant with. And Christina got sick. Ted was sick for a week and a half. I got sick for about 8-9 hours. And it's something that is absolutely legit. And what's important to understand is that through this process, humanity has been weaponized against itself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you think about that, because basically what they've done is people are like, oh, well, you're shedding. Yes. And if you understand the biology of this amazing little device that they've made, right, with this combination of the HIV and this SARS being little bug that they started with, and they combine these two things, and then they add the other stuff on the other side with a little graphite and the NRA, and because I love the NRA, but and a little aluminum, and you bring all these things together, what happens is each biological organism that is exposed, because of how these things are programmed, create their own variation. So it's been discussed that there's like 180 variants already of said virus. People say that it's COVID-19. Bullshit. It's COVID-21 already, right? It's
just watch the words a bit, because then they'll pick that up straight away if we use it.
But the big thing is the variants. Each person becomes their own variant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and this was the thing with research going back 16 years ago when they were working on the HIV that Christina was working with Bristol Myers Squibb, that they discovered that because the HIV is a retrovirus, right? It's very, very good at mutating. And changing to get around things, right? So if you create one protocol, if you create a blockade or a wall to treat something or to fight it, it sees that. You might kill a few of them, but then it goes, oh, I need to change. And if I do this, I can get around that. I mean, it's genius, right? And how these little guys function. So what they learned is you can't create a scene for it, right? There's no scene you can do for this, but you for both. And that's why they use the HIV to go into this little constructed organism, because you can't create a scene for it because it'll continually mutate. But that wasn't the plan. The plan was to create something that'll drop your immune system down and allow this proliferation of chaos that's already been put in us for generations. And that additional stuff is being put in the environment that you can't protect yourself from naturally because of how they've constructed the environment. So you have to do things now that are going to protect you, that are going to protect your loved ones. And there's one thing, growing up in a veterinary practice, I have no problem with death. I've been around more death than anyone can ever comprehend, right? Human and animal. This environment was created and designed to kill a lot of people, and it's going to kill a lot of people. You have to understand it. So the point then becomes, do you want it to be people close to you? Most people don't. I've already had some go, right? That are friends, family members of friends of mine, which you feel a little guilty over knowing or doing what you're doing and going, how did we miss that one? You know, of you really get to sit back and think, and that's the difficult part of running a company and investing the amount of time that we're doing into this. But when you look at, you know, the mission aspect of what we're doing, because we have so many responsibilities here and you have to sleep a little bit, that there are people, there are relationships, there are conversations that get missed. And then when you hear, oh, my friend had this done, or one of our best friends, we're gonna have dinner with her tonight. Her best friend had the scene done when they first became popular. She was paddleboarding with him, or not paddle. Yeah, I think they were paddleboarding or canoeing with him. And he was talking about having it done. And she and her husband were joking with him that, oh, in 2 years, you're going to have to wear a tin hat because of what was put in you and all this stuff. Well, he died the next day. And she just mentioned last night that her aunt had the same thing done a few days ago, had the second one done, died 2 days later. So, and she's got our stuff. They're using it. They know how valuable it is. Good friends with my wife. And what's funny is a lot of the people that they follow for content, like Sherry Tenpenny and such, listen to my wife. Yet our friends locally don't listen to my wife because familiarity breeds contempt.
That unfortunately is something we're all suffering from, and it's heartbreaking, but you know, you can only do what you can do, can't you?
Yeah, you can. And you pick your battles. You try to do everything you can, but you have to accept that you can't. We are in the middle of a triage phase for humanity that we've never seen before. And if you've worked in the medical profession, if you've worked in ERs, or if you've worked in trauma, you understand or if you've been in the military, you understand the importance of triage.
Absolutely.
Right? You pick who's going to stay, who's going to go, and you look at someone and you go, okay, you know, based on what you have, you're not going to make it. I can't even waste my time with you. And unfortunately, we have to look at that way with humanity. If you look at someone that's like, okay, you're 150 pounds overweight, you're diabetic, you've done this and this and this, you don't want to take care of yourself because, well, you've proven a lot of that. Some of that can be by choice. Some of it is environmental. A lot of it is heavily environmental. So it's very, very difficult. But when you look at those and you go, look, I'll have a quick conversation, do this, do this, do this. Watch these interviews, watch this information. That's about all I can do.
Exactly.
Right. And then you get into more in-depth conversations with people who are like, okay, how do I take care of my family? I've got this influence. We want to do this here, this here, this here. And we have this approach to where we have people that are awake, that are wanting to be proactive. Well, then we have to spend a little more time. Hence, we're here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm so grateful for you spending your time doing these interviews with me, because I'm so passionate about people having the information so they can make the right decisions for themselves and their 2- and 4-legged families. Because, you know, it's heart-wrenching when you see how such simple thing, and I'm not undermining how much development's got into it, but these really do make a difference. So talk us through with the clean slate then. How does it help in this situation? What's the mode of action that's going to really give people that, oh, okay, I get it, this isn't a choice that I can say no to?
So clean slate is an extremely advanced production process to take what nature created as this amazing crystal, and this amazing zeolite crystal called clinoptilolite, right? And we source the purest source available, sole source it. No one else has access to what we have. We're very, very fortunate, right? So it is the purest source of clinoptilolite, and clinoptilolite is really unique. It is a zeolite, so its sibling is quartz.
Yeah.
So amongst others, people are familiar with bentonite, especially if you have animals. You're like, I know what bentonite is. So because if you have cats, you know bentonite and you know clinoptilolite. You may not just know them by name, but it's called kitty litter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, what? Because they're absorbent, right? So they will absorb inside this amazing little cage structure and adsorb AD on the outside of this cage structure. What we've done is, through a very, very complex process that Christina worked on with our lab partners, to take this crystal, break it apart into smaller fragments, and free up a massive amount of the bioavailable silica, which is why when you're looking at the label of clean slate, you don't see zeolite, you don't see clinoptilolite, it says silicon dioxide.
Yeah.
Why? Because our clino, in short term, is 66.7% bioavailable silica of the total structure. So when we break it apart, it's no longer clinoptilolite by structure. It is basically the constituency of what it was made from, if we are going to name it properly. So if something is 66.7% silica in its structure and you break it apart, what you've created is a massive amount of bioavailable silica. Absolutely. So that's why you have the name. And it's funny because there are people from other companies, other zeolite MLM companies, like they don't use clinoptilolite. I'm like, you don't understand biology or chemistry, and you sure don't understand biotech or pharma, and you sure as heck don't understand nanotechnology and bioscience engineering, because that's what she's using to create this. So we take this amazing crystal, we break it apart, and then we load it with a couple other key components. So sea salt trace minerals, which we are sea salt, we're seawater, right? So your salt is actually seawater. You don't want humic and fulvic acids that come from dirt. You actually want to use those in your plants. We need sea salt, right? Different versions of sea salt are very, very good for us. So we add the sea salt trace minerals, and we add some ascorbic acid, and we create this superstructure, right, of this amazing little cage structure. Then we add the trace minerals. We can load those cages because they'll hold on. The cages will actually hold on to those trace minerals, and it'll hold on to the vitamin C. And then when we put that, we have that in solution. Then when we put it in the bottle, then we polarize it, because this negatively charged crystal is it's a crystal. So it is this little bundle of energy. And we've proven that with dark field microscopy and a whole bunch of other, forms of analysis to show that these things glow under dark field microscopy. It is amazing. They're beautiful. And that's also on our YouTube channel. But when we put it in the bottle, we supercharge it, we polarize it, which we enhance the natural negative charge. So if you think about what this is as a magnet, right? What we're doing is we're taking a natural wall magnet, right? And through this process and through this polarization process, we turn a wall magnet into a rare earth magnet. And what do we know about a wall magnet versus a rare earth magnet? A rare earth magnet is much stronger in its charge and its ability to hold on to metal and hold on to stuff. So we take it from what nature gave it the ability to become, and then we ROM it, because that's Christina's last name. And so you have this structure, this amazing little crystalline structure that's never been done before. I've been in this space. I've been working with clenoptilolite for 16 years, right? In different solutions, different formulas, different processes to, put it into products and such. This has never been done before. So if you've tried other zeolite products, great. This is better. Trust me, I've used all of them. I've manufactured and formulated a lot of them. Most of them, actually. I'm that dude. That's why people don't like me. But the key thing is this has never been done before, because you've never had a chelator. If we talk about chelation, right? The ability to remove and claw heavy metals and environmental toxins. There's never been a mechanism that will actually work to remove and simultaneously deliver.
Yeah,
so we're removing the heavy metals, the mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, aluminum, cesium, strontium, gadolinium, graphene, because it's a heavy metal, the mold spores, the biotoxins, the viral fragments. I think that hits on all of them. The PCBs, the PBEs, the PBDEs, the fire retardants. And why are those important? Because your pets are exposed to them with every freaking breath they take, because they're on the carpet.
Yeah.
They're on your upholstery. They're in your house. And in most instances, your pets don't leave your house. Sometimes in some like indoor pets, they really don't go outside much. They're not getting fresh air. And if you look up the data, on how toxic indoor air is compared to outdoor air. You go, oh man, I need to have my windows open more often. Step one. But I mean, the environmental exposure that your pets have, that's why pets have allergies. That's why pets are getting diabetes and cancer and all this stuff. That stuff didn't exist when I was growing up.
I know, and this is what people don't realize. I mean, I'm old enough to know, having worked with animals all my life and grown up with animals, it's just shocking what exists now. When I grew up as a child, vets were taught that horses didn't get cancer because they didn't get cancer. And now it's absolutely rife, let alone the poor dogs and cats. But the good thing is there's things that people can do, and people are waking up now. And if there's one thing this last year and a half has done, is it's actually, for me, really accelerated the wake up of people really asking all these questions, because about all the things that really have been going on for years.
Yeah.
In the UK, they're looking to reintroduce fluoride into our water. I mean, what a joke.
No, they didn't. Here's the thing that you guys have to love about this. Do you really think they're telling you that they're going to reintroduce it? Really, when you think about how evil these people are, do you really think that they're telling you that they're going to reintroduce it? They did that a couple years ago. It's been they increased it in your water supply. Why do you think the whole process of telling people in the UK to stay in their homes, don't go out, don't go get gas. Oh, we have a gas shortage, we have food shortage. It's okay, don't go anywhere. And people are like, okay, I'm gonna watch the TV. One of my favorite movies is V for Vendetta. My favorite mask I have, and it has a root symbol on it, right? Because it's V's mask.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
They did this a while ago, and now they're just telling you, oh yeah, we're going to put more fluoride in your water supply. And people are like, oh, wait, I have a call in an hour with the best water company in the UK, because I want to collaborate with them, because I want everyone in our community to have the best source of bottled water possible, just because of that reason.
Yeah, and also, but the good thing is that this fiasco over the last year has got people asking all the other questions that we started off the show with, in terms of that they haven't been asking and we should have been asking. So in a way, it's backfired on people, because now people are really, really doing their research and really realizing that they can take back control of their own health. So this is what I love about the Clean Slate. And I have, just in a short while of a few months of using it with myself, but also clients, animals, have just seen some really, really great results. Now, with the dosing side of things, I wanted to ask Clayton, if you've got a human or an animal that's got a more extreme health challenge at the moment, what's your recommendation to people? Do they go up dosages, monitoring obviously how much their body can cope with it?
Yeah, if someone and animals, like my dogs get 5 to 10 drops every day, twice a day.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people are like, that's too strong. I'm like, no, they're more spiritual and energetic than we are. And their bodies are going, this is great.
Yeah.
Like for humans. So if the way that I've seen this is, if you have someone with a severe issue, right? So their body is really in crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of those start with C's, some of those start with an L, because don't you guys call, I forgot who they call them limeys there in the UK.
Yeah.
It's a different term, but you have limeys on the other side too.
Yeah, exactly.
And, so if you have these serious conditions, your body's already in crisis. So it's much like what the military would do in the UK if people rose up, right? Instead of people having a couple officers of the law come out and say, oh, we need to disperse, they're going to send in more troops. They're going to send in a greater level of resistance to the uprising. Well, the uprising is the toxicity that's in you that's causing the symptoms for you to be sick. So in those instances, what do you need to do? You need to send in more troops.
Yeah.
So you need to take more drops.
Yeah.
Right. So what you go, okay, maybe I'll take a little more. So usually if someone's in crisis mode, 10 to 15 drops twice a day is amazing. We recommend, the bottle says 10 drops twice a day.
Yeah.
Right. That's a standard dose. What we found is once Christina upgraded the product to what she really wanted to do, which was adding the trace minerals, adding a higher level of vitamin C, adding a higher concentration of the fragments, our community started to give us responses like 10 is way too much for me. It's way too, my body's going into hyperdrive too quickly. So we have most people start with 1 drop and then they'll titrate up. I mean, you have complete control over the process, which is what's really important. So if you're like, well, 10 is too heavy for me, I mean, my body's going, ooh, wait a minute, I don't want to move that quickly. You can start with 1 and go up. I mean, we have case studies that people weren't even able to do 1 drop. They had to put 1 drop in a bottle of water.
Wow.
And then take that throughout the day. I was on a call yesterday with one of our community members, and I had to convince her not to have surgery tomorrow because she's taking a 1 drop in a bottle of water. She was scheduled to have her gallbladder removed tomorrow. And she's like, I've just started doing this and I can only handle 1 drop in a bottle of water. I'm like, don't get surgery. I'm like, just delay it. Wait. She's like, well, I have polyps and I have this and this in my gallbladder. I'm like, that's fine. You're just really freaking toxic. So let's go through this process. Let your body, let your liver and your gallbladder start to clean up a little bit because you can't even handle 1 drop yet. What is that telling you? You're so freaking polluted that your body's going, no, I can't handle this. And if you want the reference to understand how this works, if you've ever seen a hoarder or you've ever seen the show Hoarders, right? If you're in the United States, it's probably more popular. I don't know if they have it in the UK. You guys probably,
yeah.
But if you have a hoarder that's just compiled all this stuff in and around their house for decades, you can't come in and just start taking stuff out because you will traumatize them so much that they'll have a psychotic break.
Yeah.
So you have to very slowly, take the sink out of the front yard, take the toilet and the refrigerator out of the front yard. And by doing that very slowly, you very quickly start to make aesthetic changes that you can see a difference, but you haven't really done a lot. You haven't gotten into the details yet. But as you go through that process, the individual starts to see, oh, it's okay for me to let go of this. It's okay for me to let go of this. And yeah, you know what? This stack of newspapers that goes back 25 years and there's 12 of them in my kitchen. Yeah, you know what? I don't think I need those anymore. So we can get rid of that. You start this process that is very slow, but works very systemically. that allows the removal. And eventually you get to a point where you go, now I'm functional. That's what we're doing. Your body is a hoarder. It's what we're made to do because we don't have the ability to get this stuff out. All the stuff I went over, the heavy metals, the environmental toxins, the glyphosate, all of these things. Our body doesn't have the ability to get these things out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to make the argument that we have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 detoxification channels, we have glutathione, we have methylation. Yes, we do. The problem is mercury disrupts phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Mercury shuts off glutathione production. So if you're looking at the scene issue and you're looking at this environmental issue with the vid and everything, and you're like, well, and you're hearing all these advertisements for people to say, take vitamin D and take N-acetylcysteine and NAC because they help. No, they won't, because if you're polluted, you can't even use this stuff anyway. You can't synthesize it.
I'm so pleased you said this, because this is the problem I keep trying to say. And the way I explain it to people is like, if you've got 2 buckets of water and one bucket's filthy and one's with lovely clean water, if you get a sponge and squeeze it, put it in the dirty water, let it go, it fills up with that dirty water. If you then put it in the clean water, it can't take on the clean water. So this is why this product is so important, because none of the rest of your supplements are going to work well if you're at a cellular level, you're clogged up with dirt and toxins.
And what you're taking, and this is so important to understand in 3 different aspects, that people are spending tons of money, billions of dollars a year on stuff that they don't need.
Yeah.
On supplements and such that, one, don't work, aren't quality, but they can't assimilate, right? So if you want to challenge, stop spending money on everything else you're doing. And even if you don't want to add Zero In or Restore, which there's a reason we call them the Trinity.
Yeah, we're going to do those next time. Yeah.
Whoopsie daisy. I'm just going to start with this.
Yeah.
Right. And say, I'm going to take a break of everything else I'm taking right now. So you're going to save money because they don't spoil. You start this process. You start to clean stuff up. The binding sites on your cells are actually going to start becoming more available. Mm-hmm. The trace minerals that you maybe are supplementing with or aren't getting enough of are going to start getting delivered for 2 reasons. One, we're removing the heavy metals that block the binding sites for those trace minerals, the calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, all the important little guys, right? All the trace minerals and such, because they're in Clean Slate. We're going to remove the bad guys. We're delivering the good guys. So they're going to start to get delivered to your cells as well. So things start to function a little bit better. Through that process, your metabolism starts to improve. Through that process, the assimilation of nutrients starts to improve. So the food that you're eating is going to start working better. Then if you start to add in some of your supplements, or if you're on medication, you're likely going to need less of the drugs because the assimilation of those drugs starts to improve. But you know what happens if your system becomes healthy? You don't need medication anymore.
Exactly.
Because a healthy system doesn't need drugs.
Yeah.
So then you have improved assimilation. So you need less of the stuff you're taking to get the same effect, right? And then what the coolest thing is because we're removing the toxic heavy metals, the pollutants, the chemicals, the excitotoxins that are in your brain that program your brain to eat foods that you shouldn't be eating, to crave things that are not healthy for you, to make you more toxic. You don't have to make these lifestyle choices. They will start to happen on your own. You will begin craving different foods. You will begin making different decisions on what you should be eating based on what your body is telling you it needs. You're going to act more like an animal, because if you watch horses, if you watch livestock, if you watch wild animals, they don't walk up. You don't see horses walking to McDonald's.
Exactly. They will
go find a clover patch. Yeah. They will go find healthy stuff. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Do you know why? Because they can sense when water is freaking toxic and they won't poison themselves.
Exactly.
We have that ability, but it's been turned off.
Mm.
So as you do these things, everything starts to shift. It's not immediate. It's a process. You will save so much money. You'll probably start eating less food because you don't need it, because this amazing quantum reactor that we are becomes more efficient at assimilating and replicating the energy in the food that you're eating. You don't need volume, you need quality.
Exactly.
That's the key with these products as well, is it's not based on volume, it's based on quality and quantum physics. That's why we call them quantumceuticals, because you're getting the energy. You're also getting the intention of the creator, the amazing woman that's depicted in the painting she did behind me. You're getting her intention that she put into every bottle, every capsule, every sachet. This way, when you look at a sachet of Restore, it says from our heart to your hands. The intention is there, not just the physical, the spiritual, and the energetics are in every sachet. So you have to understand that this is functioning at a level of which most people can't even think of. But if you're spiritually minded, especially if you're a pet owner, because if you're a pet owner, you understand spirituality because they are spiritual beings. That you understand this, the energy connection that we have with our pets. My Tilly dog is sitting outside my office right now. That connection is beyond just physical. It's beyond just looking at them going, oh, I love my animals. No, there's energy, right? The epigenetic connections between humans and pets, right? That's why you can take cats and dogs into hospitals, into an Alzheimer's ward, and you let someone pet a cat and you'll watch their blood pressure drop. You'll watch their mental state change, right? Until their cat gets pressy and it's like, well, I don't want to be around you anymore. But that's cats for you. Dogs will hang out the entire day. They're like, I'm here for you. Cats are like, you're here for me.
Yeah. Oh, so, I know. I've got 5.
So you get to see these things and you see these amazing shifts that start to take place. But just watch, take the challenge, test it, because it does. It's the one thing you can watch this and you go, okay, there's some really interesting content and she's asking some cool questions, making some cool statements. He's saying some stuff that's a little bit absurd. And you go, okay, this was really entertaining. None of it matters, because the only thing that really matters at the end of the day is you. And the only way that you're going to find out if this stuff is actually worth anything is if you try it, because we are all a clinical trial of one. There's no amount of published data, of literature, of testimonials, of whatever you want to look at, read, hear, or see that you're going to get that's going to actually give you any indication of what this stuff can do in you, because each of us is biologically unique. What do we know? This stuff is all programmed to do what it does very, very specifically, and it works in humans and animals. And if you don't remember, there is no placebo effect in pets. Exactly. Animals don't have a placebo effect. If it's going to work, it'll work. If it doesn't, it won't. I've got 16 years experience of this, doing this in my parents' veterinary practice. We know it works because this just in, if it didn't work, we'd change it. It's just how it is. Yeah. So that's really the important part. It's like, and that's why when I created the construct for Root, that we have a 30-day empty container money back guarantee. Not just a 30-day money back guarantee if you buy it and you want to send it back. If you buy it, you use it, you empty this damn bottle, you take it for a month and you feel that you didn't receive any benefits, send the empty bottle back. We'll give you your money back. We don't care. This is not about taking your money. It's about outcomes, because we generate them. You know how many times I've had someone send me a full empty bottle back?
None, I would think.
None.
Yeah.
We get like bottles that are like half full because people are like, well, I had this bad reaction. I'm like, yeah, that's your body going into hyperdrive and you didn't ask the question, or somebody didn't communicate well with you. And it's like, okay, we need to have a chat. We've had multiple of those. Mm. So that's what's extremely important to understand. Of look, it goes back to what we're talking on. This is your life. This has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with you. If you're watching this is your choice. We'll do everything we can to give you as much content so you feel comfortable in making a decision, but it's yours. whether you look at it as sales or coercion or information, what have you. Is it sales and coercion? Yes, because our mission is to help as many people as possible. So am I trying to coerce you into doing something? Absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying to help you do something that can help you. It's Jerry Maguire. Help me help you, right? But it's up to everybody that is around us to make that choice for themselves, because we can't forcibly put anything on people. Yeah. You know, we can be as passionate as possible. That's why, you know, you look at me and people are like, you know, you're not really standard. You don't wear a jacket. You're not all stuffy. And I'm like, no, because it's not my personality and it's not how I entertain. Right. So that's really, really the point of, yeah, the science is there. The efficacy is there. The outcomes are there. Try it. Yeah. Try it on you, try it on your pets.
That's what I'm encouraging people to do, to try it. And just to finish off, because I know you're so busy and it's Christina's birthday, but what I really loved, and people go back and watch my first interview with Clayton, because the ethics of the company, the way it's set up, I've already been able to use some of my points that I've accumulated through referrals to get some for my mum, my mum's dog, one of my friends' dogs, etc. And this is the beauty of it, because then, you know, you can try it and you can share it, and actually then you can then end up getting your products for free from that. But it is really a pass it forward thing, and it's so important. And I just want people to try it, because so many people are reaching out and saying, what can I do? And I only recommend things that I've tried and tested myself and seen the results. And I love this. So I really hope that if people are struggling and they want to take that first step, just look at it and see what happens for yourself, and let us know.
And you have an amazing community in the UK. And like we were touching on before we got to hop on here, we have a really unique circumstance in the UK, right? Because of Brexit, we had to do some things that we didn't expect to do. We have a warehouse specifically in the UK to serve the UK.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I didn't know the data, but there's 89 million people just around London.
There's a lot.
I mean, it's crazy. And
even more cats and dogs.
Yeah. And we have, so our delivery time and the level of service that we're able to provide all of our friends and family, because Root is just one big family. Our family in the UK, I mean, the delivery time's like 2 days usually.
Exactly.
And, you know, so you can get stuff really, really quickly. We have our VAT number. So if you have a VAT business, you can get your taxes back. I don't know how that works, but we did it just to make sure we could provide service to our community. But I mean, you have delivery really, really quickly to get products, but we have warehouses in the US, multiple in the US, Canada, Ireland, which we're moving, the UK, we have Germany to serve Europe and Eastern Europe. We've got some in Africa. We're opening the one in Australia, which is basically a prison.
Yes, it is. I've got real people really interested in Australia. Yeah. So, and you need it.
So we're figuring out how to navigate that process, because that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But it's something that we have the global infrastructure in place. We've only been doing this for less than 2 years, but we're in 60 countries. We've got logistics all over the world, and through all this COVID chaos. And one of the biggest things right now is we actually have inventory.
Yeah.
We've got millions upon millions, I think over $10 million in product inventory right now, which is rare, because most companies, the production schedules, we're working with our manufacturers to make sure that we are going to be able to stay up. Well, I don't think we're going to be able to stay up with demand because of some of the things that are happening with some of these centers of influence that we're starting to collaborate with. That, I mean, we might end up, you know, going, oh wow, we had a lot more volume than we completely expected and we predicted, because it's possible now through social media. But we've got product and people, we are getting product in people's hands really, really quickly. We're doing some things that are quite different than any other company's ever done. The products are amazing. And through the process of getting everything set up and structured the way we wanted to, Christina is able to create, you know, and that's what she's really good at. She creates solutions. So there's a couple things we have coming out in Q1 that'll blow people away. And I'll tell you, I'll grab one real quick. I'll show it to you.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I really.
So this little dude right here, right? The greens. This stuff is so strong. You see a small bottle, right? This is what is this? 700 liter, 700 ml bottle of water. Those are greens. You ever see a tub of greens that's actually the same size as a supplement bottle? No, you only need a teaspoon a day of this stuff. It's so packed with greatness, spirulina, a bunch of stuff. It's a greens product that actually causes you to lose weight. Oh, we have 2 people testing it, and one of our ladies, her neck and her face in her first 2 or 3 weeks, and she's been on Clean Slate, Zero, and Restore for a while, had gadolinium poisoning, brain tumor, all this stuff. She's had amazing outcomes. She added this. She was my first test pilot. Her face and her neck's already leaned out in like 2 weeks. She's like, this stuff is freaking insane. So when mama gets the chance to play around in her mind and in the lab and go, okay, I want to do this and this and this, greatness comes from it. And so there's so much more to come that's already been on the plate, but we had to strategically design what was most needed right now, which is why we have the Trinity. And I'll give everybody a secret here on how my mind worked when I was creating this construct, because my amazing wife creates the products. I created the business model to support my wife. If you actually want how this whole thing was created, my wife is put here to help everybody. I was put here to serve her. So if you want the key to making a decision in what you want to consume, especially going forward in any aspect, your buying decisions partially should be predicated on the people behind the products.
Oh, completely.
If they're not created by an amazing woman, think twice. Swear to God. If what you have in your life is not created by an amazing woman, you should probably find something else. And I mean anything. Not just nutraceuticals and wellness products. If there aren't amazing women behind it, because the energy and the intention, because if you understand sociopathy, there are many more sociopathic men than there are women. And sociopathic men run businesses. And if you want to understand this process and you want to look at the problems in society, sociopaths don't have the ability by nature to create. They don't have that ability. They mimic what they learn in society so they can mask themselves in order to not be exposed in society, so they can look and act like everybody else. They are phenomenal mimics, so they can infiltrate. But if you look at the supplement industry, right? Look at the health and wellness industry. Look at all the people that come out with the same things that are already out. They're mimics. They don't create. They just mimic what has already been done. And they put another label on it, or that they spin the messaging a little bit. This zeolite space is one of those. All the other products in the industry, they're all the same. They're all nearly identical. They claim this, or they claim a little bit differently, but they're all identical. I've had analysis done on all of them. They're pretty much all the same thing. They're all trash compared to Clean Slate, which I'll be exposing. But the problem is you have these issues of evil in our environment because it's in people, not just energy, right? So you have good and bad. So you have to understand that through that process, what you're consuming, what you're buying, your money, not just your spirit, your energy, your intention, creates this environment. We construct our environment, but where and how you spend your money also creates that. I didn't want to feed the beast.
I agree completely.
So when you look at the beast and you're going, wait a minute, what's the beast? The beast is what got shut off on Monday. Was it Monday that they shut off the beast? Part of the beast?
Yeah.
Right? So
wasn't it lovely? It was great.
And
yeah.
So when you see these things, you go, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, as a corporation, I looked at 3 things to create a business model to reconstruct how we consume. That was my goal. 1, Amazon. Amazon's really the beast, right? Well, you have the 3 components of it. So you have what Amazon did, which was freaking genius, right? They started selling books, provided a platform to sell books that you could get them less expensive, have delivered to your house, even get used books cheaper than you could get at Barnes and Noble. They created this community of consumption because people found out about the website. They started buying. My mom, my grandmother were some of those first people because I grew up in Southwest Washington, south of Seattle. Amazon was in Seattle. And they're like, hey, this is great. Then they started to tell their friends. Mm. And then more friends told friends, more friends told friends. And Amazon said, well, we can sell books now. Let's replace books and maybe let's start to sell other stuff, because they had this community of consumption. The community of consumption continued to grow because people started to tell their friends about the service, and it built tentacles. And what have they done? They've created a $1.5 trillion market valuation over providing products without really creating a lot. Just a place that people can order and have it shipped quicker, right? But it was consumers that created all this value, because it was consumer sharing that created all the additional consumers. Mm. But they never rewarded a single person for it. They didn't have to pay a penny in advertising for it. And if you think about going back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if you were introduced to Amazon, how many friends you told about it? Think about Facebook. When Facebook was introduced, when the NSA funded, when they created Facebook, how many friends did you tell about getting on Facebook? How many friends have you told about Netflix? How many friends have you told about Google? How many friends have you told about Instagram, Twitter? Look at TikTok, Telegram, WhatsApp, all of them. How are these platforms created? It's created through social sharing. And when you look at the second part of the beast, the social media platforms that we're sharing this on.
Yeah.
How much have you made from all of the money that you've generated these companies? Because it's our behavior. Mm. It's our desire and need to have a sense of community that has been monetized and used against us. Yet you've not been paid a single penny for it. Mm. And you continue to provide content that their algorithms take and monetize for advertisers, right? So a company like Root would raise money, spend money on advertising. I would go to the advertising agencies that work with Facebook. I was interviewing one of them last week. I was supposed to have a meeting with them at the time we were supposed to have our conversation as we started. That I can go to them and say, okay, here's my budget. I want to spend $25,000. I want an ROI of 8x on my $25,000. I want this demographic of people with this age group, with this amount of income, with this buying behavior. I want to market specifically to them. And they'll go, okay, fine, we'll do it. So I'm dropping money into the beast. Mm. I didn't want to do that because those platforms have something that is already the value. The value is the people. The value is not the network. The network is the platform, right? That's not the value. We are the value. We create the content. We create the behavior. We are being prostituted when you really think about it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So why? And those platforms are already developed. We know Facebook ain't going away. When this stuff goes down, they're not going to take down Facebook. They're not going to take down Twitter. They're not going to take down WhatsApp. They're going to take over.
Yeah.
Because the infrastructure is already there. So how do you change the behavior? You're not going to get the beast to change, because the beast is going, we made $40 billion last year. We don't care about, what you think about us. We're bigger. Facebook knows they control the game right now. They control politics. They control people's behavior. It is. They know it. They have a whistleblower come out. They go, yeah, this is an evil empire. This is what they're doing. And you know what they did at corporate? Yeah, so what? What are you going to do about us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, look, we'll just buy you. Okay. What's your number? Right? They do that with companies. You go, okay, we love the technology. We love what you're doing. You might be competing with us. So what's your number? Is it $1 billion? And they're like, well, and trust me, I've had this conversation with my partners, because it's private. It's controlled internally. And they go, well, what are you going to do for your exit strategy? And like Ted knows, because of what he did with Kayla and what we've done, he's like, you don't have an exit strategy, do you? I'm like, no, because if we do this right, we'll be able to create so much revenue into the company and put so much back into the community, because everything we do is through social sharing. If you like the products, you're going to use them. If they're of value, if you try them and they work, you're going to buy more of them. And if you know that they work, you're going to tell your community that, hey, these are good for you. I like them. You should try them. Well, what you're doing at that point is creating value. So in the creation of value, value should be returned. Simple, right? It's simple economics.
Energy exchange, fair energy exchange. It's the way the universe works, isn't it? Yeah, or the way it should work. Yeah.
Should work. So we just created a business model for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. If you like it, but we have to stand behind what we created.
Yeah.
I know we've got the goods because my wife is the most dynamic human being I've ever met. And I was put here to serve her. So I was like, okay, if she's put here to help people, we have to have a construct that's built on serving that population. And so we built a business model around that. If you like the products, you're going to share them. You use your code, you share it with your friends. We reward you for it. If your friends share with their friends, because it's the same process, you are the one that created that value. So no matter how far that sharing goes, you will be rewarded on it. And the same thing for those, through that process is we're all rewarded on the value that we create infinitely.
Yeah, and putting it back in and supporting and putting where your money is. And yeah, I love it. I really love it.
Because one last thing, and I'll let you finish up, because you hit on something that's really important. We have people in this world that financially lack the means or lack the ability due to whatever circumstances to say, look, at this time or for this reason, I can't afford these.
Yeah.
Great. You know what? The community, like you're talking about, okay, I've shared with friends. I have my money that I'm buying my products, but I've shared with friends. I've got points. We have the whole system set up to where the community can share amongst itself. So you can send points to someone else so they can buy stuff for free because you're paying it forward. And then, we have instances actually in the UK of one amazing mom. She's up in Ireland that she's like, look, I can't afford to buy these, but we created a free account for her. And she reads tarot cards and she was in a dark freaking hole a year ago because of everything that's going on. And she shared a post because she's got a bunch of followers on YouTube, shared a post about pineal gland decalcification. We did a quick interview kind of like this. And she made more money in 7 days than she needed to pay her rent, buy food, and send her 18-year-old daughter who just turned 18 to send her on vacation to go backpacking around Europe that she'd always dreamed of, that she didn't have the money to do. She did that in less than a week. Wow. Just from sharing. Yeah. She never spent a single dollar of her own. She didn't have the money to spend on her own. She needed money to pay her rent and buy food. She solved all of that with one post. And it's become perpetual. So when you look at that, you have organizations, right? You have organizations that have the same mission, the same values as what we're doing. They want to help people be healthy. Like if you have a spiritual or religious organization and people are praying, people pray for two things. They pray for money, they pray for their health, or they're praying for money or health or for others.
Yeah.
Well, let's just combine all of that. We're doing that with spiritual entities and churches now and groups of faith because it's collaborative, right? So that's really the beauty of it is you have a mechanism that can reward you monetarily for doing the things that you just do anyway.
Yeah, it is really, really, really important because I get a lot of people saying, well, I can't afford it now. So I say, well, here we've got a company where there's a solution for you. And I've already used that and I've tested it out and I'm happy to talk anyone else through it because it works really well. And I'm really appreciative of that. Thank you so much for your time today. Say happy birthday to Christina from all of us, won't I? Can I get you back in a couple of weeks to talk through some of the other products?
Absolutely. Let's see if we can be mobile real quick. I don't know if this will work, but I'll see if I can let you say happy birthday to her because she's next door in her office. But
loving all the pictures.
Yeah, that's all her paintings. So you want to know what happens with a creator, a real artist.
Amazing.
So she can create molecules, she creates products, she created amazing kids, she paints, she writes. Let's see if we can get her here. Yeah, I can. You want to say hi real quick? Just for every amazing person in the UK. They wanted to say happy birthday. So
Happy birthday, Christina. We're just doing a little video on the Clean Slate and everyone from the UK just wants to say happy birthday. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you. You guys are so sweet. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. And thank you so much.
Have a great day, and thanks for the amazing products. Well,
thanks. You too.
Thanks, Clayton. You go off and have fun, and we will reconnect very soon and go through some of the others.
All right. We'll do it again. Let me know when we get to hop on.
Yeah.
Happy Wednesday.
Fantastic. Take care. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Bye.